gentlemen, podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio with your hosts, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Peña, the always opinionated Paris Lily, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Welcome to Gamertag Radio, episode 1285. This is your host, Danny Peña, and I'm back from New York City. I was there for the Tribeca Festival, and I was one of the jurors for the game division. And that was great. Great process, great experience. I got to meet a lot of people that not only worked on film, but also podcasting and also games. I went to the venue to check out the games that they got selected for the festival, and it was cool to see the setup, and they also had like VR stations all over the place where people could go and try some demos from different games and everything. So it was really cool. Great experience. This is not an E3 or anything like that. You know, this is more on supporting especially indie developers that up and coming and they haven't had a chance to promote their games, and this is like the perfect place to spread the word about it. You know, it was people from all over the U.S. there, all around the world, actually. You know, I got to meet people from Brazil, you know, all over Latin America, from Europe and Africa. Oh man, it was amazing, man. So, but I just want to say thanks to the organizers of the event. Thank you for selecting me. Thank you for letting me be part of this. It was a dream come true. And hopefully we're gonna get to see more games in the future. And now, while I was there, I did recorded a couple of interviews with developers that got selected to be part of the festival. So, and one of them actually, which I didn't know at the time when I was recording this, one of them is the developer that worked on Goodbye Volcano High. That's the winner of this year's Tribeca Games Festival. Also, Despelote, we have another interview with the developer of that game. It's like a soccer game with your kids growing up in Nicaragua, and you'll see it's really dope. And yeah, stay tuned. All that interview is going to be playing over here, and please let me know your thoughts. Now, next week I have a lot of other unreleased material that we recorded during Summer Game Fest. I'm planning to post that because I need a couple weeks off because it's been crazy, not only for me but also for the crew. Pete is traveling. You know, Paris has been busy too, and we just need a break. So I'm glad that I got to record stuff ahead of time to take a couple weeks off, but we still gonna have new content every Monday for you, the listeners. So please let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've been listening to the past content that I got to release during Summer Game Fest, like my interview with Ed Boon, Julian about Star Wars, Assassin's Creed is coming up soon. That's the one that I have saved for you guys. The Avatar game, Prince of Persia. Oh my God, that game is bananas. It's so sick. Tons of content. Also the new expansion of Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Make sure to check the presentation and also the interview. And Disney Illusion Island, that's another one that was pretty big for me. Checking that game out. And yeah, and my favorite, guys, Alan Wake 2. By the way, I haven't told this story, but while I was over there at Tribeca Games Festival, I went to a panel that they had, Remedy had there about Alan Wake 2. It was really cool. Great conversation with Sam Lake and one of the filmmakers that he directed a couple movies and TV shows and everything like that. So great conversation. And yeah, I got to meet the original voice actor of Alan Wake. Not the actor, not the actual actor, but the voice actor of the game. So we got to chill, got to hang out and talk a little bit about just the festival. And I told him, you know, I'm a huge fan and everything. So that was really cool. I took a picture of it, of us together, and make sure to check out on Twitter. I posted there. Just look it up at Godfrey. That's at GODFREE. Also, shout out to Ed Boon. He's been retweeting my content while I was there in the Tribeca Festival, man. So shout out to him, and then also shout out to everybody that have been supporting. It's been a wild couple weeks. And I can't wait for the future. Future's looking good. There's more content, more stuff coming up in the future for you guys, and I can't wait to share that to the world. So now, one thing I do want to mention, this week I'm actually going to be part of a panel at VidCon 2023, which is going to take place in Anaheim. And I'm going to be there with a couple other content creators. We're going to be talking about conquering burnout in gaming's relentless race. So basically, we're going to be talking about, how it is, working on content, how come up with so many different type of content, because there's so many content creators worldwide posting stuff every second, so we're going to be talking about that. I think that's going to be a great conversation. So that's going to take place this Friday, June 23rd from 4 to 5. That's Friday, June 23rd from 4 to 5 p.m. You can go right now to vidcon.com, look me up, Danny Peña. You're going to see the panel information there and everything, and make sure to check it out. So, and one last thing before we go to the interviews, I was also at the New York Stock Exchange, where I sat down with my friends at Vintech.tv. That's Vintech.tv. We sat down and I talked about, Gamertag Radio, my content creation story, how I started, with my journey. Talked about the children's book that I released last year, Danny Loves Video Games. And it's a great conversation. So I believe that interview is coming out sometime this week. I think tomorrow, Tuesday. Not 100% sure, but be on the lookout for it. I'm going to share it on Twitter and other places so you guys could check it out and share it. So let people know about the interview. So, all right. So we're going to play back-to-back interviews that I recorded during the Tribeca Games Festival in New York City. And we'll be right back after this and enjoy the interview. Check it out.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
All right, so introduce yourself and tell us the name of your studio and what do you do?
My name is Marcela Huerta. I'm the community director at Co-op, and we are doing Goodbye Volcano High, one of the games at Tribeca this year.
Well, congratulations, first of all. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Goodbye Volcano High. Dinosaurs?
Yes.
Please tell us more.
Dinosaurs? Yeah, I remember that someone was saying, like, why dinosaurs? And
I was going to ask that too. Like, why dinosaurs? I'm so
our
curious.
co-directors are always like, why not dinosaurs? But it's what happened was that basically they had been kind of throwing around this idea of like a dinosaur dating game, like a queer dinosaur dating game. This was years ago. Mm-hmm. And then someone was like, oh, but like, what about the fact that they're going to, eventually get wiped out? And mostly as a joke, they were like, oh, this dating game and like the stakes so high, all this stuff. But then I think what was happening was that they were just like, when you commit to working on a game, especially as an indie studio, that's like you're in it for the long haul. And so working on something that's like kind of just like a joke, like a little bit that you came up with, that's not that. You can't really like give your whole heart to that. So they started thinking like, what if we just did this as a more genuine, very real experience, connecting this apocalypse that happens in this universe to what we're dealing with right now and what kids are dealing with right now, because it's a teen-oriented game, right? Mm-hmm. So what if you were in your senior year and then you found out that the world was definitely changing but potentially ending? What would you do with that time that you had left? Mm-hmm. How would you deal with the uncertainty?
Yeah, it sounds very scary being there. Like this also reminds me of, oh my God, I was thinking of that TV show that they had a long time ago where it was like the family, like I think it was like a comedy TV series, and it was all dinosaurs. And I think
Dinosaurs, the TV show,
the dinosaurs, right? Yes, there you go.
Obsessed with that show.
Yeah, so I'll never forget that scene when they were just looking through the window, and it was very cold. It was different. Mm-hmm. So, was there anything that inspired you and your team to like added in there in the game too, similar to that, or what?
Well, I think that everybody was. I mean, they were kind of developing it pre-COVID, and then announced a couple months into COVID. And by that point, I think that everybody was kind of dealing with this very, life-changing, unprecedented event, and like the way that the news was dealing with it and all this stuff. And so there was a lot of inspiration taken from that. A lot of anime inspiration as well. And this sort of like slice of life teen drama stuff. A little bit of Riverdale.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Well, because we have our star is Lachlan Watson also, was from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is like, now in that universe, the Riverdale universe.
And how big is the cast of, cause I know I've seen clips, I've seen, pictures. It looks like it's a group of people there.
Yeah, it's a group. It's a pretty big group actually. And it's fully voice acted too, which is really special for like a visual novel type of game. I think it really like makes it more lived in and makes you really empathize and feel the characters a lot more with that type of relationship. So we have Lachlan Watson is the lead, plays Fang. Some of the other characters, it's because it is a group. So Trish is their best friend. And then we have Naomi, who's kind of like the nerdy class nerd, good at school, brainy, always kind of puts her foot in her mouth. Nasser is Fang's younger brother, but kind of acts like an older brother. Reed is the other person in the band. There's Trish, Reed, and Fang are in Worm Drama, the band. And Reed is kind of chill guy, always kind of who you go to for advice, things like that. And then we have Sage and Stella as kind of side characters as well. And Rosa, who is Trish's new best friend.
Yeah. And where are your studio is located at?
Montreal.
But
we have a lot of people based in a lot of other locations. We had been doing kind of like semi-remote before the pandemic, and then kind of stuck to remote. So we have some people on the West Coast. We have some people even in the UK, a lot in Canada, but some in the States as well.
Yeah, and how challenging was it to work on this game during and after the pandemic?
Challenging. I mean, at first the remote stuff was actually really good because it meant that for the people before, it was, I think before the pandemic, we didn't have a lot of like good kind of generally office culture wasn't great for hybrid, or like some people being remote, some people being in office. So with everybody being remote, it actually kind of got us on the same page in a pretty nice way. But I think it's just hard because you don't get those nice like Post-it notes on the wall moments and like really kind of vibing on a conversation and things like that. But at production, I think it was definitely slowed because of the pandemic, but the team is just really special. They come from pretty varied backgrounds, some from animation, some from film and TV, some from like, because our backgrounds are all fully hand-painted, digitally hand-painted. And so we have a lot of like background artists who did, children's illustrations, books like that, or children's books and things. So I think it kind of adds to that really like, that really beautiful anime, like bespoke look.
And now while playing the game, the choices that you make, does that change the story or change the experience?
Well, we had a very specific story that we wanted to tell. And so it's not necessarily that it's branching to change the story, but it is branching to affect your relationships with the people in your life. And so the more what we wanted to focus on was, what do you do with the time you have left? You only have a limited amount of time. So it's like, is Fang gonna focus on their music and kind of be a little bit selfish and go for this dream that they know they want, maybe at the expense of their friends and their relationships? Or are they gonna, get close to their best friend and really work through some of the tension that they've had there? Are they gonna like pursue maybe something romantic,
Yeah.
And that's kind of more where the branching happens.
Are you one of those like, I already know what I want, or I take my time, or actually like think about like, okay, which is like the right choice I should make?
Me specifically as a gamer, I always end up feeling like, I should really think about these more and just like really like try something that's like not me. But I always do like my earnest route whenever I play one of these games. I'm always just like, I'm going to go earnest. I'm always going to say what I mean. I'm going to tell them.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel bad. I feel bad the choices I make too. Like I like this character, but like.
Yeah, so, totally. Well, and also one of the things I think is actually cool about this game is that there's like this, there's like a lot of different, things that they're doing with like the choices. So for example, they're calling it like evolving UI. So for example, if there's like a choice that's like, oh, it's kind of hard for Fang and Fang is anxious, you'll go to make it. And if you kind of change your mind, that is not an option anymore. You can't make that choice anymore. They just won't say it. And I just think that's extremely relatable.
So how's it been, being part of Tribeca Games Festival for you guys?
Oh, it's been amazing. Like, I mean, I don't think I've never had an experience like this before. Everybody here is just so kind and like so open, wanting to talk about their projects, and all the projects are so fascinating that it's kind of easy to get stuck in these like really lovely conversation loops where you're like, oh, you're working on that? Like, that's so interesting. Like, that reminds me of this thing. And like someone else knows someone who's working on something else. And then because they have so many different genres at the festival, you can make those interdisciplinary connections as well, of just like what Immersive is doing is so fascinating to me, also as a writer. And I just think that there's so many connections there with these different styles of work.
And I think personally, I think it is important to see, a festival like this where you get to play all types of different genres especially from indie studios. And I think because when you have like an event like, let's say E3 or Summer Game Fest, the majority of people are going to be playing like the major games. But when you have 100% independent games, you get that shine even more now, So and I love that it's just totally from different backgrounds too, from everywhere, which is awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah, like some of the other games that I got to play, Despelote, I was obsessed, and I feel like I don't see a lot of like Latina games, especially like that kind of very, very sort of indie art style with like the grainy background and the line art, and also just such a variety of games there, like a Highland song and stuff. Yeah, just so cool. I love the variety here.
Yeah, and how important is it, Latina, women also involved with this too, like in the festival and just the industry overall?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm queer and Latina, so double whammy.
Double whammy. Let's go. Yes.
And so it's just been really important for me because, I mean, there's a character in the game, Rosa, and I just was, because I'm also, co-op is a worker-owned co-op, and so it's pretty like flat structure in the way that it's organized. The projects themselves have hierarchies, but at the company, everybody gets a say because you're a co-owner. And I was, child of two Chilean refugees, like never in my life did I imagine that I would be a co-owner of a game company, and we all get to say that, like when we have other, like it's a very queer studio, and just having that opportunity to have a voice in what you're making, it's surprisingly rare. And so I do get to say, like, there's this like LNL is the D&D equivalent in Goodbye Volcano High. And so they all get to have their little costumes and stuff. And I was like, I want Rosa to have like a Chilean Huesita outfit. And they just did it for me, like asking me like, what do you think she would be wearing if it was like her dream badass like look? And that's really special. Get to show that to my mom, and
to me, since they want representation matters so much. Seeing that, I could relate to it, So
of course,
it's good. It's good to see that from you and the studio work on this too. So this is going to be in multiple platforms. Is going to be just like, and when is it coming out?
So it's coming out August 29th.
Oh, that's very soon.
Very soon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
August 29th, and it's going to be on PS5, PS4, and Steam.
And this is the first time playable?
We had a different demo at PAX.
PAX East?
PAX East.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that one had some of the rhythm game elements as well. This one we really wanted to focus on the narrative. Storytelling, I feel like, is a huge part of Tribeca, obviously. And so we wanted that sort of slice of life there. But yeah, so this is the first time that this demo has been playable. And yeah, we're just so excited that I got to premiere here.
That's awesome. And how was the reaction from like people that have been playing it, trying it out, from both here and also from PAX East?
I mean, it's been amazing because when you're a small studio, you don't necessarily always get to have a lot of the like play testing as much, you know?
Sure.
And so you really depend on these opportunities to really hear what people have to say. And it's been so helpful. It's been amazing for morale because, as you can imagine, you know, a queer game on a big scale like that gets presented at Sony things like doesn't always like it can lead to, you know, harassment, negative comments and things like that. So when we hear positive things from the people that this means something to, like that's everything to us. A lot of people saying like that, you know, that it's affected them, this to have this queer story that is like not just like a coming out story and not just, you know, these very painful like queer trauma things, but it's just like a non-binary teenager, albeit a dinosaur, just living their life and dealing with the struggles of what's coming up.
No, that's cool. And advice for independent developers that would like to get in, they would like to work on their first game. Any tips, any advice?
I mean, I think my personal thoughts on this are because, you know, I've only been in the industry a few years and I just slid in through the side door. I was from books before. And so I definitely just think that just like going with, it's so cheesy sounding, but going with your heart, you know, like not just kind of compromising to work on something that doesn't mean anything to you, especially if you're indie. If you're indie, then you have to just do what's important to you because that's what you're going to be working on that's what you're going to be pouring your soul into for maybe years, you know? So it has to be something that matters to you. It has to be something that you care about, that you wake up in the morning wanting to do.
Yeah, and also you have that freedom too to do what you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't compromise. Just do what you want to do. I mean, a producer will be like, "What did you just compromise?"
Yeah. I mean, how important is independent games in the industry? Why do you think it's so important to be part of this?
I think it is absolutely vital to the future of the industry because the big projects are not always the ones that are going to they're the ones that are going to have to compromise a lot of the time, right? And so if you have queer creators, if you have BIPOC creators, if you have low-income creators, disabled creators making their own content and saying what they want to say, then I think that sends a message to the industry at large, mainstream industry.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Great conversation. We could be here for hours.
I know. I want to keep talking. This is really fun.
and hopefully we should get together. Hopefully before the game releases. I would love to chat with you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Great.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
Yeah, my name is Julian. I'm making Despelote.
Despelote. So there's a lot of people that don't know much about Despelote. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I always say it's a game about soccer. You basically play as a kid in Ecuador, and you run around the park, and you're sort of exploring this park and exploring this city. It's set in Quito, which is where I grew up.
Oh, that's in where exactly?
In Ecuador.
In Ecuador.
Yes.
Yeah. It's how's the gaming community over there? Because gaming. I grew up in. I was born and raised here in New York, but also lived in the Dominican Republic for a couple of years too. And the gaming community over there back in those days was like really, really cool. Everybody's playing Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis during that time. How's the gaming community over there where you grew up?
I mean, I feel like just like everywhere, there's a lot of people playing games. Not that many developers yet. I feel like, when I was a kid, there was a big, there were a lot of like pirated games. So a lot of people had like a lot of games. Like I remember going to friends' houses and people were like just had all of the PS2 games, which was great, honestly. Just because like the original games didn't arrive to Ecuador, or they would be incredibly expensive. So
yeah, cool. And so I know you and how many people worked on this game?
So it's me. The project started just me and the artist, whose name is Sebastian.
Also from the same.
Also from Ecuador, from Quito. So we both started it about like 5 years ago, And then over the years, now we're working with another programmer, Neil. We have a producer, Gabe, and a sound designer, Ian.
Yeah.
So it's 5 of us, 3 of us full time, but 5 of us.
So how long it took you guys to work on this game? Was it also during the pandemic? Or?
Yeah. So we started 5 years ago. It was like part time for most of the time, and then a couple of years ago we got a publisher and we got funding, so we've been able to work full time on it.
That's good to see, man. Especially for developers from out of the country, getting that support from publishing and everything. So was there any inspirations? Like, was there any games that inspire you to come up with the concept for this game?
I mean, that's a bad answer, but soccer.
Yeah, of course. Besides soccer, yeah, but
well, I guess it's like, but part of the reason why I wanted to make it was because I moved to the US when I was like 8 years ago. I moved to New York, so I live here now, and that sort of like gave me some distance from soccer because the culture of soccer is not really as big here, obviously, as it is in Latin America. And sort of, yeah, it's thinking about soccer, but it is like sort of like me like reflecting a lot about like what the role of this game in my life had been throughout all of my childhood. Yeah, but then I don't know, in terms of like games, I had a lot of like influence from a lot of like and the first person exploration games or more like narrative games that sort of tell a story through you walking around kind of. And I sort of was very curious about how to integrate like a more like physical element, like a more, which is like, yeah, kicking a ball around and how that could like lead you and like take you places.
And what is the demo that you have here at Tribeca?
So the demo here is basically the start of the game. It's like the first 25 minutes of the game. Yeah, we're still working on it. So the rest of the game right now is in a very unpolished state. But yeah, it's basically the beginning, and it introduces you to the mechanics and the world, and yeah, like the narrative sort of that's happening.
Yeah. So the one in the demo, you walk around, you hear a lot of voices. Do you got a lot of different people to work on this too, like for voice acting or what?
So basically, the way we're doing the voices, they're all improvised.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't write any of the dialogue actually, and we basically got friends and family to play people. And yeah, we were really excited about that because for me, it was really interesting to figure out how to like integrate these sort of improvised conversations. I didn't want to write them because I didn't feel like any of the conversations would be like, it's not about the plot really. It's about like the kind of environment and like the vibe of being in a place. So we just wanted you to feel like as a player, like you're absorbing all these like conversations and all these like tidbits of culture kind of. And so yeah, I got all my friends and family to be like play a character. The parents in the game are played by my parents.
Oh, that okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like I basically just like would go and like tell them, okay, this is the situation. You're, I don't know. For example, there are 2 characters that are having a picnic in the park. I'd be like, I got my friends who were like a couple, and I was like, okay, imagine you're having a date, and that you're getting into a little fight, and that's sort of, and then they would just like riff off of that, and I don't know. We were really happy with how those turned out.
So I know. Are you trying to get like more people to learn more about the culture? Is it about the soccer? What is the goal on that?
For me, yeah, it's when I started the project, I was trying to figure out, yeah, what the role of soccer had been in my life, and yeah, living in New York, it also made me reflect about like, I don't know, growing up around soccer in Ecuador and like kind of missing that, and yeah, it was just like an exploration of how, kind of like trying to answer this question through making a game. So yeah, for me, it's not really about like, oh, I want to show people the culture of Ecuador, because for me, it was just like, I want to set a game. I want to make a game about soccer. Where would it be set? This is where I grew up playing it. Like there was no other place I would set it in, you know?
Yeah.
But it was very important that it would be like very specific. I feel like I usually like relate a lot to like art that is very specific to like, even if it's like very different to like my own experiences, it feels very like somebody lived through this, and like that is something I can relate to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always like that was the main idea. It wasn't really about, I don't know.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
And how's it been being involved with the Tribeca Festival, showing the game to
it's
to
been
the
nice.
audience and everything?
It's been nice. Yeah, I feel like we're having a very positive reaction. I've gotten a lot of like nice messages.
Yeah, what people have been saying, like for the non-soccer players and the people that really love soccer. Like,
I think it's interesting because even like people that aren't really into soccer, especially a lot of people here in the US,
Sure.
It still like sort of reminds them a lot of being a kid and just like the act of playing, and like playing with friends. I think for me, like playing when I was a kid always meant playing soccer. Like if I was playing, that meant I was playing soccer. But I think it's like, more of like following that idea of like what sort of play is. And I think, we've gotten like very positive reaction of how like it feels very like nostalgic and feels very like, like I don't know. People seem to relate to it, even if they have no idea even where Ecuador is.
Awesome. And nice. Where is this only going to be available on PC? Are you guys planning to have this in other platforms too?
So far we're planning on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Okay. The Xbox One Series X and S, or PS4, PS5, like what?
Yes, the latest,
all of it. All of it.
I get always confused. Yeah.
That's going to be a big audience that beyond PC that you're going to reach.
Hopefully,
when this comes out.
I think that's hopefully the idea of trying to reach as many people as possible.
Do you have a date or no?
Next year.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
also, this is in the really early stage, so that's okay. Good to hear.
I mean, it's we've been working on it for a long time. It's the game is not far from being done, but we're a small team, and we're also trying to, make it as good as we can make it right now and not rush it. But it'll definitely be out next year.
Okay. So, there's a lot of developers, especially in Latin America, that they really want to get into industry and make their own games. What advice you would give them to for those that are starting?
Yeah, I mean, for me, really, what I've seen a lot of people just be interested is like I had this very like specific idea of like I want to tell a story in Ecuador and like make it incredibly specific about Ecuador. Yeah. And people really, it felt like there's a group of people that are really looking for that, like other kinds of stories in games, other kinds of like locations and environments. So for me, just like being like true or trying to be as true as I can to that was very, I think was very successful. So but I don't know. I mean, there was also like a lot of like luck involved and like a lot of like I was very lucky to come to the US for school, and I had some connections through that to people who were like already in the game industry that I met at school. So I don't know. It's all
everybody's gonna have a different experience.
It's all a big gamble. I think I don't know. Like
No, I just want to say congrats, man, and it's cool to see that you're also part of the festival and everything, and good luck with the game.
Thank you so
year.
much.
No problem.
So much.
Awesome.
This is Gamertag Radio.
Now they're listening to our sponsor for this week's episode of Gamertag Radio, and that's Factor. Now that it's summer, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for sunny, active days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up with fast, flavorful, and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Plus, you will save time, eat well, and stay on track reaching your goals. Now, are you one of those people like me that's been super busy traveling, going to all these gaming events nationwide, nonstop during the summer, but don't have the time to cook, but want to make sure you're eating well? Well, with Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting flavorful quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready within just minutes. So all you have to do is heat it up and enjoy. Then get back outside and soak up the warm weather. We got to take advantage of this weather, man. The weather is amazing right now. Not only with that, but you could save money. Want to budget this month by cutting back on takeout? Get Factors instead. Not only is cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery. That's right, like I said before, 2 minutes. So GTR listeners, this is your opportunity to take action. Head over right now to factormeals.com/GTR50 and use GTR50 to get 50% off your first box. That's right. Use code GTR50 at factormeals.com/GTR50 to get 50% off your first box. I just want to say thank you to Factor for supporting and sponsoring this episode of Gamer Tag Radio.
This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
All right, my name is Hamad K. I'm the founder and creative director of Mizan Studios. We're a small independent studio based out of Doha, Qatar, and our mission is to create fun but meaningful games with the Middle East as a source of inspiration. Our first flagship game is Nightscape, which is being exhibited here as an official selection of the Tribeca Festival. We're thrilled, excited to be part of this, and Nightscape is a 2.5D atmospheric adventure game where the night sky goes completely dark. All the stars fall down to earth, and your protagonist, Layla, has to place them back where they belong. It is inspired by the lore of ancient Arabian astronomy, so weaving all that cultural backdrop into into these key elements in the game, whether through the narratives or through the mechanics, to tell this inspiring story, hopefully, of this young girl who's a reluctant hero as she goes through this epic journey, so to speak.
Yeah, and how big is the demo that you have here for?
So it's about 15 minutes long, 15 to 20 minutes long. So it's a short demo just to kind of give you the gist of the look and feel and the vibe of the game. So yeah.
And this is the first time that people are getting hands-on, right? First time.
Absolutely, yeah. We exhibited in Doha, a very, very small kind of niche thing back in December during the World Cup in Qatar. But yeah, obviously this is the effective premiere, and we had our head in the ground for about 2 years, and this opportunity came, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it got to be nerve-wracking, like showing the game for the first time. And you guys been in a bubble, just working on this for a long time, so. Right? Were you very nervous showing like the first person that got to play this at the festival?
Well, somewhat. I think my background's not in games. I started this about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, so okay.
I went in not knowing what the heck I was signing up for, and we had prototypes. We had different directions of Nightscape. We went to GDC last year, showcased it demonstrated it to a few stakeholders, so to speak, and we got that feedback there. So I went through a few trials and tribulations where you put your creative output out in the wild, so to speak, and it gets hacked and slashed, and you get the good feedback, the constructive feedback. So it's I developed a bit of thick skin, so to speak, but so far the feedback's been great, and we're still at pre-production, so to speak. So we're still absorbing it like a sponge to get really, our aim is to really get a stellar product out there.
Yeah, and people are probably going to compare this to Journey or other games. So is there any inspiration of those games, or this is something that you guys had this plan for a long time?
At a personal level, honestly, Journey is a hugely inspiring game for me. It was very, very touching. So, I mean, yeah, you could say that at a rough level in that context. And there are a few other, let's say, games similar to Nightscape in that context. But I'm a huge Journey fan. Zelda, Final Fantasy, Shadow of the Colossus, and I'd say all of that well of inspiration you tap into to potentially create something. The challenge, obviously, is that we are a studio based in the Middle East, in the Arab world, which is a very nascent industry from a game dev perspective. So it was such a huge task to just herd cats, so to speak, and get everyone aligned and get a studio built up from scratch and get people to take you seriously at times. But I'm super glad we got here.
Yeah, how big is your team?
We're six.
Six, and
Yes.
and how important is to show, the talent from you guys, from the student, also showing how it is the gaming industry from over there in your country. Like, how important it is to show that to the world?
Hugely important. I think it's a huge creative outlet, and generally speaking, you're seeing a bit of a renaissance happening within the region itself, within the Gulf region. Saudi Arabia next door is embarking on a massive spending spree, for example, within games. But from a talent perspective, I didn't know who would be there because you don't have any games industry in Qatar. So it was a serendipitous series of circumstances and occasions where I bumped into someone randomly. I met Tony, who's our head of studio on the game dev Discord in Qatar, very randomly, and he came in with 20 years of experience in the industry, so to speak, and he's been living in Doha for a bit. We found a few others who were working in different industries. They were really interested in getting into games, and honestly, super excited and a passionate team, which is a huge reason as to what's driving me to get this out there.
Yeah, and why nighttime? Why in this game it's important to highlight that?
So nighttime was a factor of let's say the source of inspiration, which was I was looking to create a game that is meaningful but also enjoyable, and I was looking to create a game that had a narrative of a shared context. Was driving at home one night and looked up at the night sky, and I said, all right, this region before the advent of modern technology relied upon the night sky for all sorts of stuff. The stars to humanity played a huge role, particularly in the Middle East and the greater Middle East. And, it tells stories of, they were used for navigation, for direction of prayer, for trade, for agriculture, for telling time, seasonal changes, fortune. There were so many aspects of utility, so to speak, that they were used for. So what if one day, it was obviously a shared context. So what if one day that all goes away? All the night sky goes completely dark. What's going to happen to that world? Because the night sky transcends borders, right? It transcends tribes, transcends everything in that context. So what if one day the stars disappear, they fall down to Earth, and you have a protagonist, obviously a female, comes from the Middle East in that context, which is great, has to put them back where they belong. And that was really the driver to using the night sky as a significant tool and a thematic element and a key pillar actually in our game.
And there's a puzzle, so this is a platformer, you could say, right? Or what?
Yes, it's an adventure, slightly action game. It does have combat in that context, but the idea is that it all has to continuously flow towards the themes of the game. Layla is supported, as you release the stars back in the sky, Layla is supported by what we call the stellar cast, these constellations that form basically. And these constellations are inspired by actual characters in Arabian lore that represented the Arabian and the ancient or indigenous constellations that we know that the region knows of. Very different than the Greek ones. So they form characters. They help Layla with elemental powers to defeat enemies, to solve puzzles, to traverse through different environments inspired by the biomes of the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah, how long it took you guys to do the research and add like the Arabian lore is part of it's a lot in there, right? So, and also which ones that you guys decide like, what, I think this is the right one to add in this game.
Very good question. We're still going through that process as we speak. We've identified 3 of those. Layla is accompanied by a character which is a goat kid. And the goat kid to the Arabs represented the North Star. And effectively, the goat kid is Polaris, which is the North Star. But a few thousand years ago, the North Star was characterized as 3 stars because the Earth wobbles on its axis, and you have 2 other stars next to it, which were characterized as these cow calves. They represented steadfastness, they represented reliability, and they were always there. So that, from a thematic element, was very clear. That's navigation. That's someone who's going to be your guide. So it made sense to have Layla get Layla to have a companion that would guide her through that journey. There were other constellations related to wind or rain. Obviously, water is a huge element within the deserts of Arabia in that context. So yeah, research took a lot of time, but it's not just the night sky that we're focused on. We're doing this sky-ground connection continuously. So, if you look up at the stars sometimes, you look at the Lion King, basically, with Simba.
That's one of the first thing pop
Simba
up.
looking up to get to inspiration, so that Mufasa comes and talks to him in that sense. So you look up to the stars sometimes for a bit of inspiration. So we want to distill that essence and bring it into the game in a very kind of unique way in that context. But at the same time, the ground itself, we really want to showcase these different biomes found within the Arabian Peninsula that are not just desert. You've got snow-capped mountains, you've got lush peninsulas, subtropics, oases, marshlands. We want to bring that to life. Even within deserts, you've got different variations of deserts. So all those really would help break these barriers about the region and showcase it in a very different light than what you generally see within mainstream games.
Yeah, and also music to me is very important in any game, because that's gives you like a different experience while playing. So original music from the studio, you guys worked with
we're working with a composer. Yeah, absolutely, with a composer right now, and we're really delving deep into using the let's say Arabian instruments, so to speak, the Middle Eastern instruments, to add a hint and a tone. But at the same time, also, as we're appealing to a global audience, we don't want it to be completely focused on Middle Eastern music in that sense. If you look at Genshin Impact, for example, it's huge orchestral, massively successful soundtrack. But you see all these fantastic Chinese elements infused with Western elements, so to speak, and that's sort of a inspiration in terms of what we want to do within Nightscape. Have those Middle Eastern Arab instruments, but also use these chords and tones found within Western music to make it more appealing. I personally like electronic music. I'm trying to also find a distinctive voice to the sky, to the night sky, vis-a-vis Earth itself. And we're trying to kind of tinker around with it. But we still have a lot more to show for music.
And this is going to be available in different consoles, only PC, or?
So we're targeting PC and consoles. We're still at that pre-production stage. Sure. We are, we're working towards our publisher round and hopefully hit the production target by the end of the year.
Of this year?
Yeah, we'll start producing.
Producing.
Yeah, that's still
too early.
Still a bit of time. It honestly took us a little bit of time to get to where we are. Just as I said, it's been a challenge to build a team in that part of the world.
Sure.
But I think the momentum that we have right now, the fantastic opportunity that Tribeca is giving us, is really, really going to catapult us towards greater heights.
Yeah, cool, man. Just want to say congrats, and can't wait to learn more about the game in the future once you guys have the official date first.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Take care.
Cool.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Gamertag Radio episode 1285. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast, spreading word about it. And just consuming the content. It helps out. Doesn't matter where you get it. If it's in any podcast app, if you find us, on Twitter or any other places, thank you so much for supporting. So now I do want to say that I just launched my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff there in the future that is not going to be available on the podcast. So go right now, look up Danny Peña. It will be there. Make sure to subscribe, like the videos, and please let me know your thoughts. I've been posting a lot since now the past couple weeks now, and curious to hear your thoughts about it, man. So I'm going to be out here, and thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 1285. Until next time, I'm out.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.